You know that feeling when you're doing the same exact thing over and over in your data analysis? Yeah, we've all been there. Well, you're in the right place, because today we're going to talk about one of Python's most awesome tools for automation, loops. Seriously, these things are the absolute key to making your code do all the hard work for you.
All right, here's the game plan. First, we'll figure out why we even need loops in the first place. Then, we're going to build up our toolkit, getting to know the two big ones, the for loop and the while loop. After that, we'll see how these things actually work in the real world with real data. And to wrap it all up, we'll cover some pro tips to make your code even better.
So, let's kick things off with section 1, the problem of repetition. I mean, it makes sense, right? Before you can really appreciate a solution, you got to understand the problem it's solving. And trust me, in programming, one of the biggest headaches is just tedious, mind-numbing manual work. Seriously, are you tired of doing the same thing over and over again? I think we all are. Just picture it. You've got this massive spreadsheet, maybe thousands of rows, and you have to do the exact same calculation on every single one. Doing that by hand is not just boring, it's practically begging for mistakes. And that right there is the exact problem that loops were invented to solve.
And here it is, the hero of our story, the loop. The idea is actually super simple, but it's brilliant. You just write a chunk of code one time, and then you tell the computer, hey, run this over and over until I tell you to stop. It is, without a doubt, the ultimate solution for automating all that boring stuff.
Okay, time to start building our toolkit. First up is the for loop. Now, this guy is going to be your workhorse. It's probably the loop you'll end up using the most, especially when you're working with data. It's the absolute go-to for something called iteration. So, what's iteration? It's just a fancy word for going through a bunch of items one by one. Think about a list of names, a column of numbers, or even just the letters in a word. A for loop is built to march through that collection and do something to each item it finds. And the best part? The syntax is so clean and simple. For variable in sequence.
Let's make this real with an example. So we've got a list here called fruits. The for loop is basically saying, okay, for every single fruit I find in that fruits list, I'm going to do something. And in this case, that something is super simple. Just print whatever fruit we're looking at.
And voila! Here's what you get. The loop did its job. It grabbed apple, printed it, moved on to banana, printed it, and finished with cherry and printed that too. All on its own. No copying and pasting, no manual work at all. The loop just handled it.
Okay, that's great for lists, but what if you just want to do something, say, 10 times? You don't have a list, you just have a number. Well, that's where the range function becomes the for loop's best friend. Think of it as a super fast way to create a sequence of numbers on the fly. When you write for I in range of 5, you're literally just telling Python, hey, run this code block 5 times. It's so useful.
All right, time for tool number 2 in our kit, the while loop. And this one's a bit different. If the for loop is your go-to when you know exactly how many times you need to repeat something, the while loop is for when you don't. Its whole world revolves around a condition. So the logic is totally different. You're not working through a list. Instead, you're telling the computer, I want you to keep doing this thing as long as this specific condition is true. And the key part is, it checks that condition before every single time it runs. Let's walk through this example. First, we need a counter. So we create a variable I and set it to 0. Then the loop kicks in and asks a question. Is I less than 5? Well, right now it's 0, so yep. So it runs the code. It prints I. And then, and this part is absolutely critical, it increases I by 1. Now I is 1. The loop asks again, is 1 less than 5? Yes. And it keeps doing this over and over until I finally hits 5. The moment that happens, the condition is I less than 5 is false, and the loop just stops.
And this brings us to a super important warning, a classic pitfall. Think about that last example. What happens if you forget that little I plus 1 line? Well, I would just stay at 0 forever. The condition, I less than 5, would always be true, and your loop would run forever. That, my friends, is an infinite loop. It's a classic bug, and it's why you have to make sure your loop's condition can eventually become false. Okay, so we've got our two main tools in our belt now, the for loop and the while loop. Theory is great, but let's talk about the real world. Let's see how you actually apply this stuff when you're elbows deep in data.
So the big question is, which one do you use? It's actually a pretty simple rule of thumb. Use a for loop when you know exactly what you're looping over. You've got a list, a string, all the rows in a file. It's a finite set. On the other hand, you use a while loop when you don't know how long you'll be looping. The loop's life depends entirely on some changing condition, like waiting for a user to type quit or something like that.
Now this is where things get really powerful. We can actually put one loop inside of another. It's called nesting. The absolute easiest way to think about this is a spreadsheet or a grid. You'd have an outer loop that goes through the rows one by one, and for each of those rows, you'd have an inner loop that goes through all the columns or cells in that specific row.
This table here is a perfect picture of that. Imagine the outer loop points to row 1. Then the inner loop kicks in and goes through call 1, call 2, call 3. Once that's done, the outer loop moves down to row 2. And again, the inner loop takes over and works through call 1, 2, and 3 for that row. This row-then-column pattern is absolutely fundamental anytime you're dealing with grid-like data.
And here's a classic, real-world data science example. If you're using Python for data, you are definitely using the Pandas library. Its main thing is the data frame, which is basically a superpowered spreadsheet. Well, Pandas gives you this handy tool called iRowIterators, which is tailor-made for loops. It lets you go through your data frame row by row, and for each row, you can easily grab the data from any column you want, like the name or the age. It's an incredibly practical way to process your datasets.
Okay, awesome. You've totally got the basics down now. So for our last section, let's level up. We're going to look at a couple of pro tips that'll give you way more control over your loops and help you write code that's cleaner and, a lot of times, faster.
Check out these two keywords, break and continue. I love this analogy. Think of them as an emergency exit and a skip button for your loop. If the code hits a break statement, boom, the loop is over, right then and there. But if it hits continue, it just skips the rest of the code for that one iteration and jumps right back to the top to start the next one.
All right, let's look at a super common task. You have a list of numbers, and you want to create a new list with the square of each of those numbers. Now here's the old way to do it with a standard loop. First, you make an empty list. Then you loop through your numbers. And inside the loop, you square the number and append it to your new list. It works, it's totally fine, but it's 3 lines of code. Now, check out the pro way. This is called a list comprehension, and it's one of those things that Python programmers just love. It takes that whole 3-line process and squishes it down into one beautiful, readable line. And this isn't just about typing less. It's considered more Pythonic, which means it's cleaner and easier to understand at a glance. Plus, it's often faster because Python can optimize the whole operation behind the scenes. So, there you have it. We started with the headache of repetition, and now you've got the tools to fix it. You've got for loops for when you have a set list of things, and while loops for when you need to wait for a condition to change. We even peeked at some pro techniques to make your code shine. The biggest takeaway here is that you now have the power to stop doing that boring stuff by hand. So the real question is, now that you have the tools, what's the first